Hey, everybody.
Hey, I got you some water.
Nice!
Look how close they're getting. Hi, little peeps. They're so fluffy.
I've got a service announcement. No frisbees or ball playing, no bike skates or skateboarding in the pavilion. It's a pavilion of boredom.
He hated it. He's like, I'm out of here. Okay, I'm back.
The red ramen burger. This bun is ramen.
Delightful! Hey, here I am back again for day 3. Day 3 of what? 100 Days of Making Comics. Look at this crazy lighting! It's me, Gazbot, and I'm here to talk to you about my independent kaiju comic, The Horror A4. Issue 1 done. Issue 2 in progress. Right now! This is day 3, 30 minutes a day, no excuses. Here we go. What did I do today? Well, I did just 30 minutes. If you've been following along, you know I'm in my busy month. So my father is here visiting me from the East Coast, and we went out and did some things. We went out and got a bagel for him for breakfast, and then went to a flea market, which is open on a Friday, and then we went for a long walk in the park, and then around that time it was time to pick up Q from work, so we picked her up, we all went out to eat, then we watched some TV, and it was late, and I hadn't done any work, so around, I don't know, 11:30, 12, whatever, I said, okay, I'm gonna do some work, but I realized I had some work emails I needed to take care of and did that kind of stuff. I finally got a chance to put 30 minutes into the horror, which I did, working on, once again, thumbnails. I only got 4 pages done today for a couple reasons. One, I was a little bit shorter. It was a little over a half hour, but less than I did the last 2 days. And 2, I got to some action pages, some giant monster horror action pages, and I kind of choked a little. Now, what I mean by that is, I mean, they're thumbnails, so it's like I have 15 more passes before it's done. But I'm like, oh, I want this to look good, and I want to be crazy, you know, and I kind of choked. So I just sort of indicated eventually, this is sort of what'll be here, but didn't do a good job of laying it out. All I did was indicate in this panel, like, sort of this, you know, but I agonized and sweated over it, which brings up a point that I am much more at ease doing the panels of people talking. Having a picture of somebody sitting in a booth being like, man, you're an idiot, what? You know, like that, I don't have any apprehension about doing that. Now, when you're looking at it as a viewer, you may or may not think that's my better things, you may think I excel at other things, or maybe that I'm not so good at that. I can't tell what you're gonna perceive. I'm just saying when I sit down and it's a page of a bunch of people talking, sitting down, I'm like, yeah, I got this. And the more crazy action, stereotypical action comic booky it is, the more apprehensive I get. That doesn't mean I don't want to do it, that doesn't mean I don't like it, that doesn't mean I can't figure it out, but there's just a lot more thinking. Perfect example is these pages, because I had, Boots had been talking to her uncle, and she was arguing with the guy, Dan, in the bar, and then, she was at the library, all this stuff, and, there's challenges and things to figure out, but with these, it was like the military commander's talking to so-and-so, he's talking to so-and-so, then we cut to the horror, and I'm like, oh, the horror's not talking to anybody, the horror is being a big lumbering monster fighting the army. Oh, what do I do? Okay, I gotta make him look big, I better do a bigger panel, So, I'm not complaining, I'm just explaining how everybody, I'm sure, has these, like, ooh, this is hard, like, 3-point perspective, or whatever, as Marshall Plex Couture, the art of... Wait, Marsh Makes Art. He changed it. Marsh Makes Art. He's doing 100 Days right now, by the way. That's something I didn't mention last time, I don't think. So, this is something that I just struggle with, which is funny because it's sort of like a huge part of my artistic identity right now, especially with like all the Godzilla prints I do and stuff. But there's something easier about doing a singular image of a monster as opposed to doing action of the monster, still making it look cool and imposing, but clearly demonstrating what's happening. And I've looked at a bunch of books, and sometimes the action shots look like pinups, and they're gorgeous, but it's just like, Godzilla, like, rah, and it's like, well, is he fighting anyone? It just looks like he's yelling. And is he yelling in every panel? And I'm not criticizing, because it is hard, and I'm struggling with myself. But I've also seen other ones where it's like, oh, look at this tail smashing through the whole city, and it looks fantastic, but I'm like, but what, it didn't seem to follow. Like, Godzilla's in the water, and then the army's like, where is he? And then suddenly he's on land smashing a building, and like there's like no transition, but it looks cool. So I'm struggling to find that balance. And long ago, when I got started seriously working on comics, I mean, I kind of doodled here and there. When I seriously I like comics was in the 90s, was during Image. I'm looking at Todd McFarlane and guys like that. And I won't even lie, I looked at Rob Liefeld at one point as like somebody who I thought was, someone to aspire to be. And that kind of messed me up because I definitely put a huge emphasis on wacky panel layouts and crazy flying through air, you know, bulging biceps. And, you know, it took me a while to swing back the other way and be like, no, storytelling is important. Emoting is important. Clarity has been drilled into my head by people better than I, that is the most important thing. And I agree. If people don't know what's going on, it doesn't matter how pretty the pictures are. And I've seen it happen to people looking at my work. I've seen it when I've looked at, you know, professional comics where it's just like, wait, what happened? And you kind of flip back and like, oh, now that's going to happen. I'm not perfect. It probably happened in the first book, but I'm trying to minimize that. Whatever criticisms people want of my book, I don't want it to be, I didn't understand it, or how'd that happen? You know, you don't like the story, you think the art's a little wonky, I'm doing my best. But clarity is very high on my list because it's a narrative. It's a narrative medium. It's storytelling. And a while back in one of my other videos, I talked about, you know, when people say, well, what do you do? What is your focus? You know, are you a painter? Are you an illustrator? Because I've dabbled in all kinds of different creative endeavors. I've written songs and I've been in sketches and acted and drawn, blah, blah, and I've animated. But when it comes down to it, I consider myself a storyteller. I consider myself more of an artist than a writer, but I want to tell stories. I want to introduce characters. That's what I'm about. Whatever the medium I'm doing, whatever the story I'm doing. So I want the story to be clear. I want people to understand it, and then I want people to like it and think the art's great. On top of that, you know, but so I've been struggling with that. I've been struggling with the crazy over-the-type hyper action of the Image world, which actually would probably suit some of these monster scenes very well. I'm sure Todd McFarlane or Mark Silvestri could do a kick-ass monster blast, you know, but I'm trying to balance that with, you know, the more subdued comics that I've read that aren't necessarily action and things that I've studied, and I'm definitely coming up with a little bit of difficulty there. But it's fine. It's good because that means the pages that are going to be harder for me are sort of the more fun pages, you know. So like I'm going to be putting extra time in making the monster look cool, making the explosions look good, as opposed to I got to make that background look good. I got to make those military uniforms look good. I do. But I've done that, and I'm kind of, it's labor intensive, but I know what I'm doing, you know, for better or worse. I have a process in place, and I'm working on it, blah, blah, blah. Let me show you the pages I got. They're not going to look like much. They're kind of worse than the other ones, but just talking through it now made me feel a little bit better about it. I was feeling pretty down about it a minute ago. So I'll put those 4 pages up right here, the 4 thumbnails. There they are. So yeah, another day in the can. Tomorrow, I'm not sure what we do. It's a weekend, so we might go to San Francisco or something. I don't know. Things will happen, and somewhere along the way, I'll squeeze in my 30 minutes. Maybe in the morning, maybe at night. Who knows? But it will happen, and you will see it next time on 100 Days of Making Comics. But that'll be day 4. This is day 3. And if this is day 3, well, then that means...
Are you ducks? They're not ducks, they're geese. Hey, geese, we got 97 days left.